One of the biggest reasons why people give up on eBay or quit eBay in the beginning is because of how hard shipping is on the platform. On Poshmark and Mercari and other platforms, they have simplified shipping. They mostly just take care of shipping for you. But on eBay, we are giving the flexibility to do calculated shipping, flat rate shipping, or free shipping. It can get very, very confusing. I have several videos on my channel about how to ship on eBay and the best practices. But if you can overcome this first hurdle of shipping on eBay is actually much better because you can optimize it to where you are making profit on shipping. It is very annoying. A lot of people hate that eBay charges fees on shipping, but you can set up your shipping in a way where you're making $1 or $2 each transaction for small items, and you can even make money on larger items because of the discounts available. And I talk about those in a lot of my other videos. Another thing that really upsets people and gets them to leave eBay as a platform is returns. Again, these are one of the most emotionally damaging and hardest part about owning an e-commerce or an online business. It is something that we just must grow accustomed to, and there are some ways to protect yourself from returns. But returns are definitely one of the things definitely holding back new and experienced eBay sellers, causing them to leave the platform, look for other platforms, or even stop reselling altogether. A lot of people flock to Poshmark because their return policy is a lot more seller friendly. On Whatnot, it's a lot more seller friendly. So people flock to these locations. I would recommend, though, really understanding the return process and understanding that it's just part of business. I say this all the time on my channel, but don't let $70 worth of returns stop you from making tens of thousands of dollars a month and hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. They are very annoying, they're very emotional, but it is part of business. And there are things we can do to avoid them, such as making sure we have a ton of positive feedback, making sure that we actually offer free returns, so that way when people try to scam us, we have seller protections. And the other day I actually sold a digital camera. I sold it for $85 plus shipping. Once it got to them, they immediately started a return, which is fine. It happens, especially with digital cameras. My return rate is about 6.5% for digital cameras, so it happens quite often. It came back to me, and it was just a poly mailer. Literally nothing inside of it, just an empty poly mailer with a little bit of bubble wrap inside of it. So I actually reported the problem, and within about 28 minutes, I got an email from eBay saying, "We have taken care of this." They decided to refund the buyer with eBay's money, not my money, and I got an email saying that I was in the clear. They would not be using my money to reimburse the buyer, and it would not negatively affect my metrics whatsoever. So I have videos, and much smarter people than I have videos on returns. It's important to look up those videos and really understand and grasp and increase your knowledge of returns on eBay specifically. The next thing causing people to leave the eBay platform or stop reselling in general is taxes. Yes, we need to be paying our taxes on the things that we sell. eBay has flirted, so let's back up here. The government has flirted with forcing these selling platforms such as eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, even Venmo and Zelle and these platforms to issue 1099-Ks to people who do more than $600 more than $600 on these platforms. That has been moved back. The last update was it was $20,000 or 200 sales, whichever is first. I don't know if it will be changing to $5,000, $8,000, $15,000. As it stands right now, it's $20,000. You won't be sent a 1099-K, but you should still pay taxes on everything that you make a profit on. Now, a lot of people just sell on eBay as a hobby. So if you bought an InStyler curling iron 8 years ago for $40, and then you sell it on eBay for $30, you didn't make a profit. So you don't have to pay taxes on that because there was no profit made. Unfortunately, you do have to go through the hoops of proving that sometimes. So that's where things get really annoying, especially for novice, hobby, or beginning eBay resellers. What I recommend for taxes, I have 3 recommendations for taxes. The first and foremost, most important tip is actually get a CPA. Get someone who has a license, who went to school and knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to taxes. Second, get a business card, and every single time you spend money for your business, only use that card, so that way you can keep everything very nice and organized and concrete. And you can just send your statements to your accountant every month, quarter, or year, whatever you would like to do. Third, to make things even easier, I do recommend My Reseller Genie. I have a link in the description below. It's a tax software created by an eBay reseller and an accountant who came together to make this software for us to keep things ultra simple. It rips your information from eBay and compiles it into some spreadsheets, and it keeps everything nice and organized. It has a ton of other features to keep you organized and to keep you ahead of the curve. And again, this is information that you can use yourself to try to do your taxes on your own, but especially if you're doing even over $5,000 on eBay, I definitely recommend sending everything over to a CPA. Another issue holding people back and ultimately leading people to quit eBay or to stop reselling is increased thrift store prices, increased garage sale prices, and just an overall increase in product and merchandise overall. Thrift stores have been going up. Some of them have been going up in ridiculous rates. Others are slower behind. But I am on TikTok and I am on YouTube, and I actually have a pretty big anecdotal scope of what's actually going on. And it seems like huge cities, Goodwills are wild. $55 for Vans, $35 for Crocs, $400 for a Supreme hoodie, things like that. But the more rural area you're in, and this isn't always the case, but the more rural area you're in, the cheaper the prices usually are. And I've actually noticed from all of these videos that I'm putting out on TikTok and YouTube that most thrift store prices have increased with inflation, but most of them aren't the huge 800, 1,000, 1,200% increases like you see on TikTok or on YouTube. You just need to be going to the correct thrift stores to get these prices. There are plenty of thrift stores, mom and pop thrift stores, and even Goodwills and Deseret Industries and Savers and Salvation Armies that are still very cheap. I go thrifting in Las Vegas all the time. Half the thrift stores are the TikTok thrift stores that they're trying to sell Vans for 40 bucks. And then another half are really good Goodwills and Salvation Armies that sell Vans for $3 to $6 that you can pick up. I don't recommend selling Vans, by the way. That's just a good example. So it is our responsibility to find these thrift stores and to actually seek them out and get the good deals. Yes, there are people at yard sales trying to get eBay prices. Skip those. Not every single garage sale is like that. There's like maybe 2 out of 10 that will print out this sells for eBay on $300 when really it's just the asking price and actually sells for $60 or doesn't sell at all. We all have been to that yard sale, and it feels like it's more, it happens more often than it doesn't. But it really doesn't happen that often. We just got to keep going to the next yard sale. If someone has, typically if someone has a printout, the majority of their items are going to be expensive, but sometimes they just want premium on one item. Everything else they're willing to let go. But you just got to get away from those yard sales and on to the next one, because every single individual is different. Some people have a yard sale every other Saturday and they're doing this as a side hustle. Other people just got evicted and they have to get rid of everything, so they're letting everything fly. Other people have hoarderish tendencies and they're trying to limit the things they have in their house, or they're just trying to get rid of some stuff so they can replace it with more new stuff. But every single yard sale is a different situation, a different story. You just got to find the ones that are going to be cheap and give you the best profit margin available. Another thing really deterring people away from eBay are fees. First off, I believe, and I will probably get pushback and heat for this, but I believe that the standard eBay fees are more than fair. eBay gets hundreds of millions of eyeballs on our items every single day for us. They host a functioning website every single day for us. They bring in new eyeballs every single day. They have a payment processing unit. They pay millions of dollars to employees every single month. They do a really good job of doing all of these things for us, so we don't have to build our own website, use Google and Facebook ads or our social media pages and bring people to our websites. We would lose millions of dollars per year for several years and then break even after 4 or 5 years and then really start to cash flow after that if we had to build our own websites and do things of that nature. But promoted fees are starting to get to a place where most people consider them ridiculous. A lot of people are using dynamic promotions. Hear me out. Every single situation is different. If you are in media, you probably have to really up those fees. If you are selling brand new sealed items that sell for less than $20, I think you absolutely need to use those types of fees. But especially for people like us that are selling one-off items or used items, I don't think you need to use that big of promotions. I recommend using promotions. I am a business person. I have owned several different businesses throughout my life, and I am completely happy paying an extra $700 to get $16,000 in revenue. I promote all of my listings at 2.6% across the board. A lot of items do not need promoted listings to sell, and a ton of items absolutely need promoted listings to sell. I don't want to do the work of every single item, analyzing it and doing that, so I just, across the board, 2.6%. What I recommend doing is starting at the lowest percent available, which is 2%, and then seeing what happens in your store. If you like the results, stay there. If you see a small increase and you would like a larger increase, I would then go to 2.5%, then 3%, then 3.5%, until you come to a place where you are happy with the amount of sales you are getting, with the amount of promotions that you are needing to pay. It's different across every single category, and yes, whether it's a vintage electronic or it's a Tommy Bahama shirt, both of those get promoted at 2.6% in my store. That's a sweet spot where I have found success, where I like the amount of sales I'm getting for the amount of promotions that I am paying for. One thing that can really mess with sellers and get them to leave the platform entirely is consumer cycles. It's very important to understand when and what people are actually buying. We hear this a lot, but it's actually very important to understand who your actual customer is. A lot of us are everything sellers, so sometimes it's a bit harder to identify that target customer. But even across a large array of items, you can still figure out who your target customer is. Walmart sells everything to everyone. Target sells everything to everyone. They both have different demographics. They have an overlapping huge core demographic, but Target is 15 to 25% more expensive. They know that, and they market and they do things differently to capture that market that's willing to spend an additional 15 to 25% for the exact same item at Walmart. They even seek after more premium brands, so that way they can have a more premium store, so they can charge the premium price. You can decide yourself as well. Am I a Walmart? Am I a Dollar General? Am I a Target? Am I a boutique? Am I a rag house? There's a lot of different customers that we need to be seeking out. We need to understand who they are. On top of that, we need to understand when these customers are spending money, when they're tightening their belts, when they're letting things flow. We also need to understand what types of items they're buying during different times of the year. Most people experience what's called a summer slowdown because people have just spent all of their money in Q4 for the holidays. Then they get a tax return and they have gift cards and stuff, and they spend all of their money on themselves during Q1. Then Q2, they shift their focus from buying physical things, material objects, to memories and experiences. So now instead of buying a ton of, things for themselves, they start going on vacations with themselves or with their families, and they're looking for experiences. So we have to tailor our items accordingly. Because when people go on vacations, a lot of them still buy cameras, sunglasses, swimming suits, things of that nature. That's how I have tailored my store to capture and keep my sales pretty ultra consistent throughout the year, because I understand the consumer cycles and what my customers are expecting and looking for on the internet or on eBay specifically when those cycles come up. I could do a few hours worth of video just on this subject of understanding who your customer is and understanding the consumer cycle that surrounds that customer and the producer cycle that we produce as sellers, the amount of items that we're able to get. That's another thing too. You have to understand the cycle of your thrift stores and your garage sales. During the winter, for most places in the United States, there are no garage sales. And even in these really hot or mild winter climate areas, yard sales still go down. During spring cleaning, there's a huge increase of donations to thrift stores. So not only are there more and better quality items in the thrift store, but they're even cheaper during these times because they just want to move them because they have so many items coming in behind them. Then when we get to winter, where people aren't doing the spring cleaning and people are cold and a little more miserable and they don't want to drive to a thrift store, get out of their car in the cold and donate these items, there's way less donations. There's less quality items to find in thrift stores, and the prices usually creep up a bit because they don't have as many items behind them to replace them, so they're willing to sit on them and get a little bit more money per item. Tons of consumer cycles and producer cycles that we need to be aware of, tons of customer avatars that we need to understand and create and learn. But yeah, this is a big one that a lot of people fail to learn or understand, and it leads to them reselling, getting left behind. All right, site issues on eBay. This is a very popular topic, and again, a lot of people are going to disagree with me here, but I don't really think that there are very many eBay glitches. I don't think there are a ton of eBay failures that are leading to people having slower sales. I think that eBay is going a different direction, and with that direction, a lot of people are experiencing fewer sales, and a lot of people are thinking that it happens to be glitches and problems with the website. There are new companies out there called Temu and Wish. There are a ton of companies that sell things for $10 or less, $5 or less, even $2 or less. eBay has decided that not only can they compete with them, but they just do not want to, so they are shifting to a different target customer. eBay has always been kind of the cheaper site. They are trying to move into a kind of a more premium site. They want a higher ASP. They have focus categories, and they are moving to a customer that is, instead of trying to acquire new customers, they have actually shifted their focus to acquiring and maintaining customers that are called premium customers who spend $700+ per year on the site. This is just the way that eBay is shifting. So if you're experiencing slow sales and you're in a category that sells things for $15 shipped, $10 shipped, or $5 shipped, in my opinion, and there are glitches, there are issues, but in my opinion, it is not an eBay glitch. It is an eBay shift and movement away from these items. They will still sell these items. There will always be a market, especially a used market, for one-off small ASP items. But eBay is shifting away from that and shifting to a place where they want $800 sales, $80 sales, $412 sales. The higher the sell, the more eBay is going to be pushing these items. So, in an opinion of just a 28-year-old who doesn't know what he's talking about, who hasn't experienced any slowdown in sales and is invested not only in eBay, but also Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple, Microsoft, all these tech companies, they are all giving the same signals that they want to move into different directions. Temu is having a big effect on eBay, and eBay is trying to be a different platform than they truly have been for the last 15 years, in my opinion. Because of these several issues and many, many, many more, I think that reselling is going to get easier and harder at the same time. I think competition is going to lessen and lessen and lessen. Even with all these videos that me and other people are producing here on YouTube and TikTok and getting people interested in eBay reselling, but then quickly falling off because of taxes and because of shipping and because of returns and because of fees, I'm not worried that we're going to have more and more and more competition. We're entering a consumer cycle, I believe. And this is the number one rule of economics, is to forget everything you know about economics. No one knows where inflation is going to be. No one knows where interest rates are going to be. No one knows where consumer wallets are going to be even 6 months, 18 months, or 6 years from now. We just have to go with the ebb and flows of the cycles. With that being said, I think we are entering into a time where people are going to be pinched and squeezed, where they're not going to have a ton of disposable income. And even though eBay is going this direction of seeking out more premium customers, I think eBay will still have the tag, eBay's cheaper than the competition, so I'm going to search for my items there. I think there's going to be less competition because of the barriers like taxes and returns and shipping. There's going to be less competition of sellers, and I think we are going to see an increase of buyers because of the times that we are kind of entering into. I think that people will be seeking refuge in eBay for some used items instead of brand new items. And honestly, when people are going through hard times, even if they don't have the budget for it, dopamine enters into your system and you feel very quick, fleeting joy when you're purchasing collectible items or items that bring you comfort or nostalgia or just, So, I'm getting a little rambly, but I think that even during an economic downturn, if you are applying the principles that you should be, I think eBay will be getting easier and easier to sell on. Again, with another caveat of 20%, 80% of the sales go to 20% of the sellers. You just got to be better than your competition, and you will never experience hardship on a platform such as eBay. If you are consistently learning and growing and adapting, I don't think you have much to worry about when it comes to selling on a platform such as eBay. So, recommendations from this kid moving forward. Again, you don't have to agree with me. You can think I'm an idiot. You can think I'm a genius. You can think I'm just a regular person. You can think whatever you want. But these are my recommendations. This is from someone who has experienced success on eBay. While a lot of people were complaining about slow sales and a terrible, terrible summer, I didn't experience any of those issues. And that is because I attribute all of that success to a lot of things, but the major thing, fast sell-through rate. Fast sell-through rate. It doesn't matter how many items you're listing. It doesn't matter anything really about the algorithm. All you have to do is acquire items that sell faster than normal for as cheap as possible. I recommend having a sell-through rate each item of 80% or faster. 100% is great, 200% is better, 500% is best. A lot of people talk about how there's these growth caps on eBay, and I agree with those. But I also disagree with them because every time I get a shipment of digital cameras and I list those digital cameras, my sales explode. Every single time I get a huge shipment of AirPods and I list those AirPods, my sales explode. I am usually up about 100 to 110% year over year because I just seek out items that have extremely fast sell-through rate. Then while I'm at thrift stores, I used to just get as many items as possible that were profitable. Whether they had a 200% sell-through rate or a 20% sell-through rate, it'll eventually sell. I'm going to put it in my store. All I'm doing right now is I would rather only find 4 items with a 100% sell-through rate than find 17 items with an average of a 45 to 55% sell-through rate. I would much rather find 3 200% sell-through rate items than to find 25 50% sell-through rate items. It's just a much, much better store in my opinion. It leads to quicker sales, better cash flow, and less stress as an eBay seller. A really popular ideology and goal here on YouTube amongst the reselling community, especially eBay resellers, is they say, I have a goal to have 1,000 items in my store, or I have a goal to have 10,000 items in my store, or I have a goal to have 50,000 items in my store. Why? Like, why don't you have a goal to have $1,000 in sales every day? Or why don't you have a goal to have $100,000 in sales every year? Or $500,000 in sales every year? Like, why do we want like a store number? It has never made sense to me. And a lot of people kind of confuse. There's a really popular notion that we have to like feed the eBay algorithm every single day with the exact same amount of listings and then slowly increase or maintain from there. And that's for people that are just selling items, in my opinion, that have slow sell-through rate and not a bunch of demand or desirability. I don't know. What I want to get across is, you guys, if you guys are listing 15 items a day with a slow sell-through rate and you're trying to get to 1,000 items in your store, I would recommend trying to only find items that have above a 100% sell-through rate and trying to get your store down to 500 items. That's what I would recommend doing. But not everyone has all of the best sell-through rate items available to them in their area. There is a lot of avenues to get these items on the internet. I have videos on them. If all of my thrift stores shut down today, I would still make a really good amount of money on eBay because of online sourcing. It doesn't matter where I live. I will always make a ton of money on eBay because of those skills that you can learn, not only from me, but from other people here on YouTube. So I guess I'll just end with my top 3 tips of selling on eBay in 2024. The first, you guessed it, focus on sell-through rate. Focus on sell-through rate. Just find the fastest selling items available for the cheapest price possible. Tip number 2, do not focus on the algorithm, focus on the customer. What does the customer want? What items does the customer want? What return policy does the customer want? What photos do the customer want? How is your customer typing your item into eBay? What is the customer doing? What does the customer want? Not what does the algorithm want? Same applies for everything that has an algorithm. On TikTok, it's not about how many followers you have or how many videos you're posting. It's each individual video. It doesn't matter if I post 3 videos every single day consistently. That helps me as a creator, but it doesn't help me in the algorithm. What the algorithm wants is a video that everyone sticks around for the first 5 seconds, especially the first 15 seconds. They want to just spit your video. On eBay, it doesn't matter to list 20 items every single day. You need to list the correct 6 items every single day. Focus on the individual customer and the individual item, not the algorithm, and listing a certain amount of items to feed that algorithm. Then tip number 3 is kind of wrapped up into tip number 1. Learn to say no and learn to walk away. If someone offers you 1,000 CDs for $1,000, say no, because the majority of those CDs have 87 listed and 2 sells. If you can just go and pick out each CD that you want, you can do that. But don't just buy 1,000 CDs because it's a good deal. Don't even buy 1,000 CDs for $100, 10 cents each CD, because you've already bought them. So now you're gonna think in your head, I've already bought them, I should just list them. And they have a 7.5-year sell-through rate. Well, they'll sell eventually, right? For some reason, my magical listing will sell in 9 months, but if it doesn't, I'll complain that it didn't, okay? Say no. Buy your items one by one. Focus on fast sell-through rate items. Walk away if it only has a 40% sell-through rate. Walk away if it only has a 20% sell-through rate. Definitely walk away if it has 419 listed and 3 sold. I really hope that this is coming across as someone who wants you to make more money than you ever have, spend more time with your family than you ever have, and have less unnecessary stress, the least amount of unnecessary stress than you ever have. If you are finding success in what you are doing, keep doing it. If you are experiencing hardship and eBay's is getting harder and harder, I hate to tell people this, but it's very true. It's your fault. It is your fault. You need to change and adapt to your environment. You can't expect your environment to change and adapt to you. There will always be someone crushing it, and there will always be someone getting crushed. Do not get crushed. Go out there and crush. I really hope that I can be someone that can help you guys crush. I'm criticized for sharing secrets and bolos, and a lot of people think I have a hidden agenda. I just want you guys to make more money than you ever have. I want you to spend more time with your family than you ever have. And I want you to have the least amount of unnecessary stress than you ever have. Selling on eBay can be a huge blessing, but we have to let it be a huge blessing, and we have to make it be a huge blessing. If you are having the slowest amount of sales that you've had for a while, double back on your items and start finding ones that sell faster. And I promise your life is going to get significantly easier. Love you guys.